Okay. Last bite of a taquito. So, let's do the prayer of presence. Let's take 2 minutes. Guys, how are you going to join us? By the way, did Jasmina tell you? She's working out with both of you. Yeah, yeah. she's mixing and matching, yeah. Okay. Oh. Oh, we are like. No. Oh. So on the days when Jasmina is not working out with you, she's working out with Laura. She. Hello. How are you doing? There's some taquitos. Actually, soon. Not yet. Patience. No, I did. Maybe it expired. Maybe the timer expired. How many minutes did you set? Oh, okay. Don't worry about it. Hey, let's do the prayer of presence. There you go. Okay. Our mind to be focused. Exactly what we were talking about in this present moment. Let's give 2 minutes for that. Just kind of clear your hands, close your eyes. Feel the chair you're sitting in. Feel your back leaning against it. Hear Duke breathing. Allow yourself to be like fully present right now. If thoughts come by, just let the thoughts float away. Now look up and see Jesus. Just see his face. Don't go into details. May we hear your word. May we share our testimony, and may this last time here at this place be a cool blessing for all of us, so we can enjoy time together, enjoy the food, and just enjoy your presence. Amen. Hello. I opened my eyes and Dickie's there. Like right, like, okay. It's a blessing and a curse. It's kind of like so, let's see. You guys want to... Actually, you're late. You can sit in those chairs. So, Open Book of Acts, chapter 1. Okay. Who would be so kind to read from 1 to 4, verses 1 through 4? Acts chapter 1. Mm-hmm. And understanding reality before he leaves, so they can actually continue and do the proper work. And he told them, like, you stay in Jerusalem and wait for the promise. Now, all of them wanted to run away from Jerusalem because they were kind of in the crosshairs of everybody at the time, both Romans and actually more Jews, but then Romans as well. So they were just like, yeah, you know what, this persecution is gonna kill us. Let's just leave. And Jesus like, no, no, you to this suffering and pain until the Holy Spirit comes to you. Say, John baptized with water, but you will be baptized days from now. So he is telling them that on the 40th day after his resurrection. And now they understand it's his time. It's time for them to stay alone without him. And what was the most pressing, most important, like the most crucial question that they wanted to hear from him? No. It would be nice if that was on their mind, but no. What? Okay, let's put it this way. What would be if you were, imagine yourselves in their shoes. What would be like the last thing you wanted to hear from Jesus before he leaves? Uh-huh. Where are you going? Okay. Huh? Going to heaven. Huh? Say it again? No, no. What would be your question? So, yes. So, if you were in their shoes, like this is like, so the resurrection happened, 40 days have passed, they know that he is about to leave, and they're not, most likely they're not going to see him again. You know that you're not going to see him again. Like one last thing. Ask me one last thing that you want to know. Something. What would be the most significant thing for you? What would be the most crucial thing for you to know, knowing that this is literally the last opportunity to get an answer, like direct, verbal, voiced out answer from God himself. Okay, that's an ad. I mean, that's a very important one. Yeah. Yeah. Or even better, can I go now with you? That would be like. I saw that like a funny meme. It's like a dude shows up at pearly gates, and he's like, and Peter's like, oh, welcome, come on in. And he's like, oh no, what? I'm dead. I have so many things to do in life. Well, okay, if you want, you can go back. Oh, never mind. No, that's fine. Like, yeah, I'll just stay here. Okay, come on. What would be the question? What would be the question? That's a good one.
Or like, how long would it take for him to come back?
Okay, that's also pretty nice. So where are we going back? Yeah. Why do you have to leave? Okay, that's not a bad question. Although he already answered that question. He told him, if I don't leave, you won't be able to receive the power of the Holy Spirit that is going to actually do tenfold more through you than if I were around. He already explained that. That was the deal that they had. That's the dynamic, that's the spiritual dynamics as described in the Bible. Why? You'll have to ask that in person when that time comes. But okay, again, it's a fair question. Why do you have to leave? Why don't you stay? Okay. What about the rest of you? Come on.
Now what?
That's also a good one, yeah. What do we do now? Now that he's gone. Now that you're leaving, what are we supposed to do? Okay?
Able to do all the things I was able to do when you were here with us?
That's also a good question. But again, pretty much what Alba asked. Like Jesus made that point exactly. Not that you will just be able to do it. You're going to be doing it tenfold. But again, a fair question.
Like when you're with, because I think of as a child and then with a parent, sometimes you have that confidence of like your parent being there. Like Rafa, I don't want to take him to playground. He always keeps an eye on. As long as he sees that I'm there, he's cool. The moment he doesn't, like I say I want to go get water, he freaks out. Mom! So it's like, it's like I wonder if that was like a thing too. It's like knowing that Jesus is there and you're like, oh, I got this.
Okay, that's a good one as well. Yeah. Come on, only half of you is talking. What's up with you guys? Okay, fine. Somebody read verse 6. Loud, out loud.
So when the apostles were with Jesus, they kept asking him, Lord, has the time come for you to free Israel and restore our kingdom?
This was the most important question for them. So, are we going to get our political power back right now? Out of all, no, here, listen to you guys and your questions. Your questions were relational. Your questions were existential. Your questions were purposeful. Their question is, well, yeah, exactly, yeah. Who's going to win the election? That's like what is the most pressing question? Is it going to be Trump or Biden?
Yeah.
Or you're tossing in somebody third. Now, why did I do this?
Because it was hard. Sorry.
Excuse me? Go ahead.
I was just thinking because it was hard to learn from them in their own culture. They were just thinking like, okay, we've seen stories of like, God's going to bring us the kingdom, but they're so short-sighted that it's not the earthly kingdom.
Now look at this. Absolutely fair point, and that's exactly what happened. But let's analyze. Excuse me. Let's analyze just not even the 12, the 11 ones, because Judas was gone. How much time before this moment they spent in person with Jesus?
3 years, right?
How much?
3 years?
More. 3.5 years. So, but this was not 3.5 years of occasional coaching. Half an hour over the phone and then once a month in person. This was
Every day.
not even a full-time job, it was a full-time life.
Right.
Yeah, they literally spent time as a family, 3.5 years. Anybody, nobody, anybody spend time in a dorm in college? Actually, yeah. You remember like how close you become with some people? After a very short period of time, maybe like a couple of months, even sometimes it's enough. Especially if you guys click, you know how well you know each other, how connected you are, and so on. Imagine 3.5 years of life like that. And then going around doing some amazing things. Like they were fishermen and what else? They lived ordinary lives before they met Jesus. They meet him and they live 3.5 years of extraordinary, supernatural adventure. It's like Lord of the Rings. Like it's crazy, you know? And then, in order for Jesus to wrap it up, to have the final finish and touch, he gets back from that, and instead of going to heavens to finally catch a break, he stays another 40 days, full time, with all of them, teaching them again. But this time they know this is God. Like this is it. This is the real thing. 100%. I mean, they didn't doubt before. They knew before. But this was like he's back from the dead. Like we know that he died. So it couldn't be more real than that. And after that period, this is the question they ask: how is that possible?
I think they kind of were taking it for granted, maybe, like got too comfortable.
Okay.
Because like I feel like, you know how you were saying like when you're dorming with someone and you're used to being with them all the time, I think sometimes you can take it for granted, or even the person, or you just kind of get too comfortable.
Okay.
Where it's like you don't really appreciate that season of time, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I kind of think about that like with my siblings. Obviously, all of us like we don't live with each other anymore, so there's things that you kind of miss about them.
Oh, okay.
But when you were with them, you're like, oh
It was
my
like,
gosh,
yeah.
I've had enough of you already. You know. So maybe something like that. I don't know.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe it was like in terms of like what they had in mind, like they thought they were gonna get something from it, and that they were gonna be like setting up the new kingdom, and that's what their idea was still thinking. Like, oh, you know, okay, God's going to heaven, so we're gonna set up the Israel now.
Okay. All right. So God set up the kingdom of heaven. We're gonna set up the kingdom of earth. Something like that.
Yeah, because like you remember, like they had like the mother trying to like advocate for her sons, like, oh, make sure that they're in your
Yeah,
right
yeah.
hand and your left hand.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So they had the very strong concept of horizontal life. Even though they had so much vertical experience, still the horizontal life was not letting them go. Okay,
I think one of the roles of the Messiah was to restore Israel.
okay,
So so that's why they were asking that.
okay. Now, there's a difference between the kingdom, or how do they say over here? There is a difference between Israel and the kingdom of Israel. But for them it was one and the same. Because Messiah did restore Israel, the true Israel. And Paul explains that all of the ones who were born outside were grafted onto the branch and became heirs as the ones who belong to it, and the true kingdom of Israel becomes spiritual Israel, outside of the genealogical and physical and so on. But all that they saw was the horizontal aspect of this is how life is supposed to look like. Now, before we continue reading what Jesus answered to them, let's talk about this for a little while. We've been here for a long time, for like more than 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. Imagine that. Jeez. And today is the last time we get together over here. Now, one thing that Josh said, like while we were talking, he's like, I don't feel sad at all. I actually feel awesome. Like, I feel that this is like an introduction for something bigger that's coming. And what I wanted to ask you guys now, let's do a little bit of reminiscing. So, what would you say impacted you most in these past 2 years that we were we were getting together over here, opening the Bible, studying, talking about all of these things, what you remember as something that's really impacted you and helped you see? Oh. No, I realized that the second time. Like, oh.
He's fine. Yeah.
I think for me, it was probably that we're still together. Like, regardless of like life and everything that changes, like we're still together.
Okay. Okay. Do you remember any message? Do you remember any thought? Do you remember anything that was really like, wow, okay. Okay, this is something.
In this 2 years or overall?
No, I'm talking about these 2 years that we spent together over here in Poznan.
Oh, okay, never mind. I have one in particular that was very like vivid to me, but that was like over in Arvada.
Uh-huh.
And that was the one where you dropped the Bible, and all of us were like, and he's like, why do you care? You don't even read it. That stuck to me.
Dang. I was like, go on. Why can't you even read it?
There was one also. I didn't remember that when I tore the pieces of Bible.
Oh, yeah.
And okay, I took like a piece of paper, put it in there, made it look like tore the Bible, but it was kind of the same.
Our hearts.
Mm.
Only have so much.
That was awesome.
Here.
When you think about, go ahead.
The moment you receive Christ, you are redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
You are holy. You are saved, and all that stuff. And for me, it was always so hard to see that. Always so hard, because I'm just like, man, I mess up every single day. Man, I make mistakes every single day. Like, there's so many things I could do so much better as a Christian person, but then it's just like, well, no, like, I received God in my heart, and now I have to live. Not I have to live, but like now I understand that I live like redeemed, and that I am holy, even though it's like still a weird concept to me. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's still like, yeah, I am. Like, I really am.
Concept of being holy. Yeah, I remember we talked about that. Yeah, that's right. All of us are actually holy. Saints of God. Yeah, that's right. You guys remember that?
My point, what you pushed for the entirety of the 2.5 years was the identity part.
Okay.
Probably necessarily haven't figured it fully out yet, but it's a concept that continues. It's not something just like died off that after we left kind of thing. It's just like something that you build on as well. Because it's like once everything stripped away of who you think you are, who are you?
Yeah. Okay.
For me is how we've grown. I mean, I don't do much, but meeting together here on the weekends, and we see, for example, getting married, having kids.
Why are you pointing at me?
I mean, just because the conversation is,
Oh,
you
okay,
made the
like-
question. But I mean,
Is
having
there
kids,
something I
getting
don't
married,
know?
it's just how it's just how I see that how we are growing in life, but also spiritually, because we still come here
Mhm.
together and we help each other when we converse, when we give our ideas, when we talk about our experiences. We are growing and helping each other grow spiritually and just in life.
Okay, thank you. In the last 2 years, we studied 22 different topics. I made a list of all of the series that we were going through, and a lot of them overlap. As you said, there was a lot of things that I was kind of intertwining with different topics, a lot of ideas, same ideas that I was kind of pushing through, but 22 different things that we really studied for a long time.
Another 2 years, but the identity thing, like Sean said, and then the other thing was the prayer presence. I think that's something that I had never heard before or like practiced, and I've been including that more, do it right because I still feel like I'm learning, but I do see the value in it, and I'm really excited about that aspect of it. I think that's something that I really, really enjoy.
Okay, thank you. Come on.
He's like, come on, no, say.
I don't know, it's just like, like Arvada was good, but you go there, you sit, and then you listen, and then you go. After that, you go out to, grab some lunch with, everybody, and that was it, But this was more intimate and more like a discussion and more personal, which is, what really gets into your head and stuff. And you remember stuff like prayer and presence, for example. That's one of my biggest takeaway from this.
Okay.
Just praying and it happens. And then before I've had so much miracles within a lot. Ever since I started going to Arvada, that's been happening, and then it paused for a little bit, and then when we got into that prayer of presence and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, there he goes again, things happens again.
Cool.
So it's it's really good reminders to to practice the things that you've been teaching us.
Okay, thank you. Hey guys, welcome.
Thank you.
First timers for our last time.
I know.
Nice.
Being co-creators with God of our life, that's like our words have so much power. And God is like, be careful with what, proceeds from your mouth, because, a lot of it can come from life or death. And then taking into account our identity on top of that, and who we are in God and our purpose as well. Having all of this just coincide together has really been amazing in my own personal life, in my life with my hubby, and being able to be like, Lord, I know you can do this. It's been a work of faith that I haven't had, but to this extent. So it's definitely been a new layer of challenging myself, my faith, and what I'm saying with God, and really just taking you know what, Lord, you have done this. This is already done. I know that you've already figured this out. I know you already figured that out. You're already planning on figuring that madness out. And so that's really good.
Cool. All right. Now, one cool thing about the story that we read, you have this concept of, so Jesus is about to leave, they're going to stay behind and continue preaching the gospel and making this world a better place and improving and so on. And Jesus is really trying hard to impart this vertical aspect of life. Like the real kingdom of God is not of this world. It transcends this world. This world is part of it, but the kingdom of God is not contained within it. It's actually the other way around. This world is contained within the kingdom of God. So all of the rules, all of the logic, all of the governance, everything is happening outside of this world. That's what he's trying to teach them. And yet, so what's the last question that you have for me before I'm about to leave? Well, are you going to get the political power of Israel finally, back into our hands? It's unavoidable for us to combine horizontal and vertical. We live in a horizontal sphere of life. We are 3D people living in a 3D world, controlled or limited. Let's put that way, limited by parameters that kind of define the world that we live in. But then, it doesn't have to be that way. Because here's the answer. So Jesus is teaching them 40 days. He's going back, telling them, explaining them, and now they're asking this final question. So are you going to restore the kingdom of Israel now, before we leave? And this was his answer. It is not for you to know times or seasons that the Father has fixed by his own authority. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, and in all Judea and Samaria, and to the end of the earth. Now, their idea of what life was supposed to look like was grandiose. It was enormous. They had this idea that, like, Jesus is the Messiah, that he's actually going to open the doors for them to finally rule righteously the whole country, the whole people of Israel, that God is going to bring them back the power. They're going to liberate themselves from the oppression of Romans. They're going to become free people yet again, rebuild the temple, and so on. They had these enormous ideas. And these ideas were literally out of their reach. Like, who were they? They were nobodies. They were fishermen. They were carpenters. They were middle class guys, small business owners, occasional graffiti rebel with them and whatnot. But that is who Jesus surrounded himself with, and those were his disciples. And now they think that they can change the whole country, that if God gave them the power, but they really believed that. Here's the thing: this is not something that was not available to them. I mean, they saw the power that Jesus had. They were aware of it. They experienced it. They practiced it. They were healing. They were feeding. They were doing all of these things. So they know that this is possible. But the point that Jesus makes over here is like, guys, as long as you think in horizontal terms, your vision is way too small. Like, all you want is Israel? That's all you want? That's it? Come on. Like, I planned for you, what did he say? I planned for you Judea and Samaria. I planned for you the whole world. And this is all you want. Just Israel. But for them, Israel was like, wow. That's the pinnacle. That's amazing. Anytime you observe life from a horizontal perspective, you're going to see reality the way that reality is created around you. Some of the reality you create yourself by choosing perspectives that you're going to see the world, that you're going to interpret what's happening around you, and so on. On the other hand, you have the vertical aspect that transcends all of the reality that you know of. I had this talk, like Wednesday we had a Bible study in Nevada, and I was asking them, okay, tell me one thing that, we talked about it a little bit. Tell me one thing that you think that you really couldn't achieve. And people had these ideas, and usually the ideas that they had about their non-ability to achieve certain thing was based on the limitations that they saw themselves had. Then the second question is, okay, do you think that God can do something like that for you? And pretty much an unequivocal answer was like, yeah, of course he can. Jesus over here is trying to tell these guys, listen, you live in a horizontal world, but at the same time, where you should live more is in the vertical parts of this horizontal world, which means you should find hot spots in your life where God is touching the ground. Now, how do you understand what would that hot spot be? Try to think of your life and tell me, what would be a hot spot in your everyday life where you know that God is touching the ground and some amazing things could happen if you were there more often?
Prayer,
Okay, time of prayer. Why?
because you are taking the time, the space to connect, to go by everything in your mind and what he wants you to do. If you read the Bible, he tells you what he wants from you.
So how does God touch the ground in those moments?
With the word.
Okay.
With his word.
Okay. Have you ever had a prayer answered?
Yes.
And that is something where the reality literally changes by your words. right? You ask and he delivered. And you know, it happens once, it's a coincidence. It happens twice, you're like lucky. Happens the third time, there's a pattern. And then we have like a years of experience of answered prayers. You realize like, okay, yeah, this is my hotspot. This is the place where my reality is being changed from horizontal to vertical. What else? Where else do you have an opportunity to create a hotspot?
For me, I notice it a lot with some of my close friends. When I go and like spend time with them and their families and things like that, we get to talking about personal things, and it's crazy because I start like sometimes I'm able to give advice because it's like I literally just went through that, and it was almost like I needed to go through that because I was gonna help this specific person out with that specific thing, and it's like, what? Oh, that's crazy. Like literally yesterday, one of my really close friends sent me this beautiful message, but I could tell that she was going through it, and I just sent her a audio message, and literally the night before yesterday, so I guess Thursday night, I was going through something, and it happened to be quite similar to what she was dealing with, and since I had processed it and like talked to God about it, I was able to give her the wisdom that I had received, and she was like, dude, you have no idea how encouraging that was. And I was like, oh, I was like, that's why I kind of went through, like there was a purpose in the struggle, and it was to help someone else. So.
This is so cool. So you actually mentioned two hotspots over here where you guys have the opportunity to create an opening where God can touch the ground and reshape more of a vertical into your horizontal. First thing is acts of service. The place where you connect with other people, the place where you not just connect with other people for fun, socializing, whatnot, but with an intention. With an intention, I mean, I've been doing that just as it's part of my job. It sounds bad when I say it that way. I get paid to help people. But yeah, no, but it really became natural for me that anytime I would meet anyone, either if it's planned or if it's not planned, I always ask myself, okay, God, what's the idea? You know, what am I? What not? I expect to get. I've learned one thing: every single time God has a present for me when I connect with somebody. But when I have an intention to meet with somebody and I want to help somebody, I'm always asking, okay, what can I do? You know, and every single time I have an amazing experience, and a desire to do this even more. That's one hotspot. Now the question for you is, how much time do you intentionally serve others? Serving meaning you're not paid for that, you're not getting anything in return. You simply give your time, give your energy, give your attention, give your compassion and love, literally without expecting anything back. That is service. If you want God to be more tangibly present in your life, start intentionally planning time of service. Not to the ones you care for and love for, unless they need it, of course. But no, quite the contrary. People that just need help. Fine, go volunteer. Do something. Ask God to give you opportunities. Donate your skills or whatever. And then ask God, okay, can you touch the ground as I'm going through this? And He will. And it's going to be amazing. And it's going to deepen your understanding of vertical. Another thing that you mentioned is pain, struggle, and suffering. What do you usually do when it hurts? Complain. Okay. What's next? Cry about it.
Pain.
Try to soothe the pain.
Like distract yourself.
Distract yourself. Okay. What else? Fix. We have this flawed idea in Western society that you need to be happy all the time. You know? You need to be happy. So anytime something hurts, you need to do things to eliminate the pain, to get rid of the pain. Anytime you're going through a suffering, you have to make it as less potent as possible so you can be happy, because life is all about happiness. And frankly, life is all about happiness. But nothing brings you as much joy and happiness as pain does. Think about it. When do you appreciate joy the most? Exactly, yeah. After you felt the pain, after you lived through the pain, after you struggled through the pain, and after you overcame the pain, the joy of it is so much sweeter. Pain is another place for a hot spot. Like, goodness, Jesus died on the cross. He went through all of that for what? He experienced the pain of the whole world upon himself, and Paul writes about it. He says Jesus went through all of this. It's so cool. I think it's Ephesians. It's going to take me a little bit to find it, but he says Jesus went through all of this. Why? Because it brought him inconsiderably huge joy to do something like that, to give glory to God. He was like, this is going to hurt tremendously, but I'm okay because this pain is going to give a birth to something so much more amazing. Next time, my challenge for you, instead of seeking to fix it, soothe it, distract yourself, do something about it, try to sit down and observe your pain from a side and ask yourself, okay, pain is just an error in thinking. If God meant my life to be a life of joy, then by experiencing pain, obviously I am not doing something right. Let's see how I can grow out of this pain. Because if you just soothe the pain, if you just try to fix the pain, if you just try to distract yourself from the pain is not going to leave. You might learn to manage it, You might accept it as a norm. Oh, okay, well, a life of pain. When you hit your 30s and your back starts hurting, and you're just going to embrace it. Well, that's what comes for the rest of my life. But it really doesn't. You just realize that actually your posture is really bad, and all you need to do is some core exercises, and the back pain is going to be gone and never come back if you learn from the pain. If you try to soothe the pain, you're going to use some Bengay. If you try to distract yourself from the pain, you're going to, whatever, But the whole point is, don't avoid the pain. Don't avoid the suffering. Find meaning in it. Find purpose in your pain. Because it's not going to last forever. No pain lasts forever. But if you find meaning and a purpose in it, that is actually going to be the resolution of it. And you'll just open your eyes one moment and it's gone. You remember it, but it's just gone. It's not here anymore. So Philip had his hand up, and then Sean.
I was going to say, a lot of people will process their pain, but they're just, they pretty much just react. So you being an alcoholic, you doing whatever it is that you do to process and learning, it's a pattern of what you do, and that's how you, process that pain, or that's how you kind of adapt to it.
Mm-hmm.
But just sitting in it and just feeling it and understanding why it's happening.
That opens the door for a hotspot for God to actually give you a lot of clarity about yourself, about life, and pretty much to help you grow you deeper into a purpose that will make your life joyful. On.
Part of my routine now in the mornings at work is taking a lap around one or two laps around the building, and doing stretches. It helps me clear my mind and like separate, like, okay, this is my time was before work, I'm at work, but then this is a little time for myself. I pray, I'm walking, enjoying the sunrise, and just kind of clearing my mind of things that are cluttered. The week I took bereavement, had a little anxiety, a little overwhelmed, and doing my stretches kind of helped clear it. It was just like the Caesar party, and you could walk through, and it was just like, okay, taking that time to like do something for yourself, and not necessarily just like going out and doing something, but it's like, okay, I'm trying to better myself with this. I haven't had pain in like a month and a half. That shoulder.
There we go.
Like I told you, my shoulder pinched the other day, but it was gone in a day. Like usually I sleep wrong, my back goes out, and I'm suffering for 3 or 4 days. But this thing I actually may have hurt myself, but it's not there anymore.
But here's, since you brought it up, actually, Philip, would you please bring me one can as well? Thanks. Your grandma passed away, it's been a month, right? Sean, it's been a month.
Yeah, a month, just over a month.
Does it still hurt?
Yes. I think and it's more of, it's still fresh.
Why?
It's because it's odd.
If you don't mind sharing, thank you.
It's because you kind of sit there, because people sending picture, like it's not like, oh, out of sight, out of mind. That's how I used to record everything. And I didn't deal with it. Like the stuff with my dad, out of sight, out of mind, but I don't want to think like that. So it's just taking the time, like I'm like, I can't call her. Because I listened to a voicemail, didn't even know it existed, and it broke me. Like I just dropped.
Yeah.
But then it's like talking to my mom, talking to my aunt, and it's like I want to go home and visit, but she's not there anymore.
Yeah. You see, but why am I asking about all this? Like, this is the pain that's going to take a while to soothe. Usually, pain of losing somebody takes about a year to really subside, and you can really kind of look back and say, okay, I feel okay about it, about what happened. But if you devote time to delve into that pain, to dig into it, to try really understand what is the source of it, why, it's going to help. And I'm talking about you, but it kind of applies to everybody. Like, you realize that there is a part of pain of regret. Why didn't I go and spend more time with her, for example? It can be a pain of anger. I'm generally speaking, yeah, but the whole point is this, like, as we are going through the pain is like a revealer. Pain actually helps you, if you pay attention, it's going to help you show the weaknesses within yourself that you realize, like, okay, I really don't like this. I don't like the fact that I'm hurting because I feel bad I feel embarrassed, you know. I had that moment with, my dad died, 2021, it was middle of COVID. I was really grateful to God that I managed to be there a week before, spend some time with him before he died. But after that, like going through the process of dealing with the pain, one of the pains was like that pain of embarrassment. Why didn't I go back home more often? Why did I have to go back every 5 years? But then, at the same time, as I was processing that pain, I realized if I were to go more often, there would be much more pain because my dad was a pain in the ass to deal with. So kind of having to deal with him would actually cause both of us more pain than the way that things are. But again, instead of trying to ignore it, you kind of focus on it and try to dig out of it. Try to dig out of it who you really are, because pain reveals who you really are. Okay, another cool thing. Now I want us to close with this one. That Jesus says over here. Because I think that this is a good conclusion for this last time that we are here. He said to them, "It is not for you to know times or seasons that the Father has fixed by his own authority." How many times have you inquired about the future? Your own future. Literally every single prayer you say more or less is referring to your future, right? You need help with this, you need understanding of that, and so on. But essentially what we want when we pray is like we want clarity of the things that are coming, right? Why do you pray for things? It's out of your hands. Okay, so you have to ask God to be in his hands. But essentially, what do you want with the situation? Why are you even asking about it?
I know if I took care of it myself, I would have made it worse than if God wouldn't handle it.
Okay, so you prefer to let God handle your future because you're gonna make a mess if you do it on your own, kind of like that. Yeah. That's not that hard to relate at all. But essentially, think about this. When you pray, what do you have in mind? I want something better to come. Right? That's what prayers revolve around. I want something better to come in the future. I want to see the clarity in the future, whatever it is. And then Jesus is over here like, why would you care? Like, it's really not yours to know what's coming. Why do you think he said that? Excuse me. Why do you think he told them, it's really none of your business what is God going to do in the future?
Because he knows God is in control.
And
That's a good point.
The beginning, he knows the beginning to the end, so I'll handle it.
Okay? But that's fine. That's fine. Like God can handle it. Like God is present in right now and in the future, in the past, and so on. Yes, God is pretty much for him, all of it exists at the same time. But why is Jesus telling them it's none of your business?
That there's like so many complexities that, like if you were to sit down and explain everything, it'd be like what, like too much. Like the reason I say that is because I use it with Rafa. This happens a lot. He's like, "Mom, what do you do this and this?" And I'm like, oh, "Dude, like just trust me. Like it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. I already thought about all of the things. You just gotta sit back and enjoy what we're about to go do. Like don't worry. There's gonna be food. There's gonna be this." But if I sit there and like explain everything to him, he's already like, "I don't care." Like, but I'm like, then why do you ask? You know. So sometimes I feel like that's how it is sometimes with God, where he's like, dude, if I sat here and told you all of the complexities and all the things that are about to happen, you're just gonna be like, okay, you know what, forget it.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. Let me just trust you instead, because that's less complicated.
And you see, that is the beauty, that is real freedom in life. Seriously, that is the real freedom in life. All you have is right now. You experience life right now. You don't experience life tomorrow. You're not experiencing life in 5 minutes when we start cutting that cake. There's cake. Yes. See? So now you can imagine, you can kind of be anxious, is there going to be enough cake? Or you can be just like, oh, is it a gluten-free cake? Or like, there are numerous things that you can think about the cake in the future, but the fact is that right now you're not experiencing that, but in 5 minutes you will. And yet God already knows how the taste is going to, how the cake tastes like. And he knows who's going to get a bigger piece. Let's see who is God's favorite in 5 minutes. But the real freedom in life, the freedom that Jesus is trying to impart on these guys who are about to go on a lifetime journey of insanity, of preaching the gospel and doing these crazy things. Like as Paul said, like for Jews this is blasphemy, for Greek this is nonsense, but for us it's the power of God. They're about to embark on this journey, and Jesus is trying to tell them, listen, whatever is in making for tomorrow, it's really none of your business. Because you know that God is in control. You know that God is on your side. And then it's just a matter of you simply leaving to Him, trusting to Him that things are exactly going to pan out in the way that is going to be best for you. And that takes the anxiety of the future away if you really believe it.
It's gonna be easy. Because if you're going out the easy, God never said it's gonna be easy.
Out of 11 of them, out of 11 apostles, only John died of natural causes. Everybody else was killed. Some in the most brutal ways. Life is not about, I understand what you're saying. Life is not about being easy. I mean, when life is easy, you don't grow. The whole point of life is to be hard so you can grow out of your skin and become bigger. And in that process, when you think that you're breaking down, when you think that this is as much as you can, this is the moment when God lifts you up. Like, no.
It's like calluses.
Yeah,
on your fingers.
yeah. Like building your spiritual muscle. You know, going to spiritual gym every single day, lifting up pain and suffering of your life in order for you to clarify your true divine purpose and be able to live. But again, you live now. That's why he's telling them, like, guys, I'm leaving. Right now, you take the time to pray. You just spend the time to pray. That's for you right now. Very soon the Spirit is going to come. Then we're changing the tactics. Then you're going to start preaching. But no, they wanted the kingdom of Israel right now. They wanted, and God is like, come on, stop it. Stop asking. Because as long as we are focused on the future, we're going to be anxious like them. We're going to be frustrated because the future is not happening the way we want the future to happen. But we essentially have no control of the future. The only thing that we have is ask God for the future that we desire. That's all you've got. You look at the future and say, God, I'd really love to have a future like this. Can you make it happen? Ask and you will receive. Remember that one? But the point is, okay, now,
My wife is about to call me after this video is over.
She had the wrong number. Yeah. 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 But for somebody else. Yeah, like mm.
I said she's in Colombia. She has WhatsApp.
Oh, yeah. We'll try again. No, but again, we talked about this before. The moment you ask, God delivers. God puts you in a process of delivery. And then sometimes when you ask, you're just not ready to receive. So He needs to prepare you for that. He needs to get you to grow to a point where you can receive. That's what applies to your prayer for your wife as well. And usually the process of growth is painful. And usually we tend to avoid pain. And that's why the process prolongs. But that's another topic for some other time. We talked about that before. What I just want you guys to think about is this. So the vertical in your life is something that belongs to you. You wouldn't be here if you were not interested in divine connection, in developing it, expanding it, deepening it, and then based on that divine connection, expanding and deepening your horizontal experience of life as you have it over here. We are not going to be meeting here anymore. We'll be meeting on. Philip offered his place. Dickie offered his place. Don't look at me like that. Every once in a while, we can get together and continue discussing. But what I want to encourage you, as we close today and conclude here, this vertical divine connection, if it doesn't guide you in creating your horizontal, you're going to get lost. You're going to get lost in either reminiscing of the past or fretting about the future. Because this divine connection that belongs to you happens only right now. 5 minutes ago, it's not happening anymore. You remember when we talked about the cake? 5 minutes ago is not happening anymore. Tomorrow, your divine connection is, God might be there, but you're not there. Your divine connection is right here, right now. And as long as your mind is not set on right here, right now, as their mind was not set on right here, right now, you're going to be missing life. And here's the last verse that we're going to read. Let me just find it. Give me a second. Okay, I can't find it. But it's somewhere here, first, second chapter. It's, they're described, the disciples are described that they are getting together. Oh, here we go. This is cool. So verse 14. Okay. Oh, good catch. This is like the second time. Why did you plug it in over there? Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Roller coaster engaged. Woo! Look at verse 14. Same thing, Acts chapter 1. So verse 13 names all of the disciples, apostles, and then verse 14 says, and all these with one accord were devoting themselves to prayer together with the women and Mary and mother of Jesus and his brothers. Now here is the final moment when they are present in the now, devoted themselves in one accord to prayer. Until you guys get yourselves devoted to, like, right here, right now, learning from the past and knowing that the future is in God's hands, you're not really going to start living. You're going to just play pretend life. But for your mind, it's going to be real. And that's why you're going to be depressed about the past and anxious about the future. While today, all you have right now is cake. All we have now is joy. Even in pain, you find joy if you're present in your pain. Even in suffering. I remember that as well. Like my dad died and I am grieving, and I really remember that moment over there where I'm joyful at the same time, because right now he's gone and he's in peace. And he was a burden to people around him, so everybody else is in peace. And I'm in peace as well. As much as I'm grieving, as much as I wished things were different, I found joy in that moment of grieving my dad about like a week after he died or so. I was back here in the States. I remember that. The fact is, anytime you're in the moment of now, that is the only place where you meet God. And when you meet God, the only thing that you have, the only real thing that you have is joy. And that joy wades through everything else, whatever it is that you're holding on to right now. So be here today, be here now, be present, love yourself, enjoying the fact that your best future is coming, and that whatever future brings you is going to take you to fulfillment of your desires. You want a wife? This week a new lesson is coming that's going to prepare you for her. Don't touch him. Oh, that's too late for that one. Okay. Anybody else wants to add something, subtract, ask? Excellent. Cool. Let's have a prayer. Let's take another prayer of presence. Let's take another 2 minutes for the prayer of presence. And then Sean can close with a prayer. Close your eyes. Clear your hands. Just going to listen to your breath. Feel your back leaning against the chair or the cushion of the sofa. Feel your feet touching the hard floor. And be here. Your mind might ramble. Just shut it off. Don't pay attention to it. Let the thoughts float away. And now yet again, look up. With your eyes closed, look up and just see Jesus there. Look at him smiling back at you. Glad that you're here spending time with him. And now just enjoy this silence with him. This was such a poor timing. Just a minute sooner.
You're teaching me with my imperfection. reaching me when I run the other direction. I'm undone,
I'll pass on the
unraveling
cake.
my plans. Make me whole again, rebuild me from the inside out.
Huh?
In a
No,
way
I'll
only
pass on
you
eating it.
know how.
Huh? Okay, I don't think there's going to be enough for everybody. Yeah.